Alright, so environmental pollution is when contaminants are introduced into the environment which causes a harmful change. This affects everyone despite who you are, where you live, or where you work. Overall, there are different types of environmental pollution. There's water, air, and soil pollution. Throughout history, there have been environmental disasters in the United States. An example of this would be Love Canal, which is a toxic chemical waste dump located in Niagara Falls, New York. A town was built on this dump, and because of this, it affected hundreds of people there. Love Canal was not the first dump recognized in the United States. It was the first dump recognized in the United States, but it's not the only one. According to the book Love Canal, Birth of the Environmental Health Movement, the Environmental Protection Agency estimated there to be 30,000 to 50,000 dumps currently in the United States. So there's about 40,000 in the United States, and there's 50 states. There could be 800 dumps in each state. Love Canal first originated in 1892 by a man of the name William T. Love. He proposed an idea of connecting the upper and lower portion of the Niagara Falls River by a canal that's 6 to 7 miles long. This was because he wanted to harness the water to provide cheap power to people that lived there. However, the economic depression occurred and the financial backing for this project fell through, so he abandoned the project completely and left a 16-acre dug canal on that land. In 1920, the land was sold and it became a toxic chemical waste dump until 1953. Hooker Chemical Corporation was the main corporation that disposed of their chemical waste in the canal. Also, the city of Niagara Falls and the U.S. Army participated in dumping their waste here as well. The Hooker Chemical Corporation filled this canal with dirt and sold it to the Niagara Falls Board of Education for $1. In the deed to this land, they put a clause that stated, no physical harm or death is their fault if these chemicals caused it. After that, homes began being built and an elementary school was built on the corner of this canal. The book also stated that when the families purchased these homes, they did not know at all that this canal was even there. A few years later, people started to file complaints and had issues because children began being burnt. They saw black sludge oozing out of the ground and there were nauseous odors. Nothing was done until the 1970s, where the government began to investigate because of the large amount of complaints. An article by Lenore Ginsberg stated that the New York Department of Health temporarily located all pregnant women and children under the age of 2. This was due to miscarriages, stillbirths, and birth-defected children out of 239 families that lived there. The governor then permanently located these people and replaced their houses at equal cost. The book, Love Canal, My Story, showed a series of chronological order of events that occurred. In 1979, the issue for the pregnant women and children under 2 was issued. In May of 1980, President Carter declared a health emergency based on the Environmental Protection Agency study. This study showed that if you lived here, you had an increased risk of cancer, birth-defected children, miscarriages, or permanent genetic damage. 810 families were then temporarily relocated, but President Carter signed a bill to permanently relocate all of these families. The results from the study also showed that the miscarriage and birth defect rate was extremely high. The miscarriage rate was 50 to 70%, and the birth defect rate was 56%. There's also an increase of central nervous system diseases, epilepsy, suicide attempts, hyperactivity, and an increase in urinary disorders such as kidney or bladder problems and respiratory problems. In the book, Love Canal, My Story, Lois Gibbs talks about a woman who went door to door to educate people on what Love Canal actually was, since most people didn't know what it was. And she had people sign her petition. From when she went door to door, she heard stories of a child that was extremely hyperactive, or another child that had arthritis and they didn't know why she had arthritis at such a young age, and another family who a young adult male died due to a heart attack, and they didn't know why because he was so young. She also shared her story about her child, Michael, who was 5 years old and went to the elementary school here at Love Canal. After 3 months of attending this school, he had developed seizures and later developed epilepsy. Also, his white blood cell count was extremely low, and this was a side effect of the chemicals that were present at Love Canal. She wanted change because she knew that it not only affected her, but it affected everybody else there. To contain this problem, they put on top of the chemicals a 3-foot layer of clay. And on top of the clay, they put a massive sheet of thick plastic. And on top of the plastic, they put 18 inches of topsoil to cover this. Also, they inputted a drainage system with 8-inch pipes 12 to 15 feet in the ground to intercept any water going into the canal or coming out of it. After this all happened, 900 families had left Love Canal, which was around 6,000 people. After these people had left, they had planned on revitalizing the neighborhood, which they did, and they renamed it Black Creek Village, which is still in New York today. They installed more than 100 monitoring wells to make sure that no chemicals would escape from this landfill. And as of today, people still do live there. Any questions?
In your opinion, what do you, where do you think, where do you think in the world that